My son kicked me out of the house, but when he saw who picked me up his smile disappeared. The old woman stood quietly by the gate of her own house. The house she had built with her husband 40 years ago. Her hands trembled as she held a small bag with a few clothes and an old photograph inside. It was all she could take before her son shouted again. "Enough, mother, I can't take this anymore, you need to leave." His voice was cold and full of irritation. He once called her his world, but now she was just a burden in his eyes. She looked at him for a moment trying to find the little boy she once held in her arms, but he was gone. Now there stood a man who had forgotten every sleepless night she had spent for him. Her daughter-in-law stood behind him smirking slightly. She whispered something in his ear, and he slammed the door open wider. "Go wherever you want but not here," he said. The old woman's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to ask why. She wanted to remind him of the time she sold her jewelry to pay his college fees. The night she stayed hungry, so he could eat. But her voice failed her. She stepped out quietly. The door slammed behind her. That sound felt like her heart breaking. She sat on the pavement outside the gate and looked around. The street was empty. The same street where she once walked holding his tiny hand on the first day of school. Now no one stood beside her. She whispered, "Ya Allah, I have nowhere to go, but I know you will send someone." As the sun began to set, a black car stopped near her. The window rolled down, and a man in a suit looked at her with surprise. He stepped out quickly and said softly, "Auntie, is that you?" She looked up and recognized him immediately. He was her late husband's old friend's son. A man named Ahmed whom she had helped long ago when he was a struggling student. Years ago he had lived in their house for months when he had nothing. She had treated him like her own son. Tears filled her eyes as she said, "Ahmed Beta, you still remember me?" He smiled and said, "How could I ever forget the woman who gave me food when I had no one?" Then he saw her bag and her tired face. He understood everything without asking. "Come with me, Auntie, you will not spend a single night outside," he said firmly. He opened the car door and helped her in. She hesitated, but he said again, "You are my mother now." They drove away. Inside the car she sat quietly looking out of the window. The lights of the city passed by, but her heart was still heavy. Ahmed talked softly, trying to comfort her. He said, "I own a small company now, you will stay with my family, they will love you like their own." At that moment she thought about her son. She had raised him with love, taught him kindness and faith, but he had chosen arrogance and pride. She prayed silently for him despite everything. Days passed. Ahmed and his wife treated her like a queen. They gave her the best room, the best food, and most of all respect. For the first time in years she felt peace again. One afternoon Ahmed's company organized a charity event. He insisted that she join him as a guest of honor. She wore a simple white shawl and smiled as people greeted her kindly. But fate had planned something unexpected that day. When they reached the event she froze. In front of her stood her own son. He was shocked to see her. He was now working as a junior employee at the same company, Ahmed's company. His face turned pale as he saw his mother step out of Ahmed's car. Everyone stood silently watching. He could not believe what he was seeing. Ahmed smiled politely and said, "Meet my mother, she is the woman who helped me when I was young, she saved my life, and today whatever I am is because of her." The son's legs felt weak. He looked at Ahmed with disbelief, then at his mother who stood gracefully beside him. Ahmed continued, "I will never forget how she fed me when I was hungry and gave me shelter when I was lost. She is my mother now." The son's eyes filled with tears. He wanted to hide. He realized that the woman he threw out of his house was now being honored in front of everyone. The same mother he had called a burden was now respected by the man who owed her nothing. He stepped forward with trembling lips. "Ammi, I'm sorry, please forgive me." The hall went silent. The mother looked at him for a moment. Her eyes were soft, but her voice carried strength. "My son, I forgave you the moment you shut that door, but I learned something that day." He looked at her confused. She continued, "When a person throws away love, Allah sends it back through someone else stronger and purer." Tears rolled down his cheeks. He fell to his knees and cried, "Please come home, Ammi, please." She looked at Ahmed. He nodded gently. She walked toward her son and placed her hand on his head. "I will come, but not because you ask me. I will come because a mother's heart cannot hate her child." Everyone in the hall wiped their eyes. The crowd clapped softly. Ahmed smiled with pride knowing he had done what destiny wanted him to do. Later that evening they returned home together. Her son valket beside her kuytli. He couldn't look her in the eyes. At the gate he whispered, "I don't deserve your forgiveness, Ami." She replied, "No child ever deserves his mother's love. But Allah makes mothers like that, they love without reason and forgive without condition." From that day onward he changed. He treated her with love and care. He spent his days trying to make up for the pain he caused. And every night he prayed, "Ya Allah, thank you for sending Ahmed to teach me what a mother truly means." The mother never mentioned that painful day again. She smiled more now. And every time she saw Ahmed she prayed, "May Allah bless you, Beta, you became the son I always prayed for." Years later when she passed away, her son and Ahmed stood together at her grave. The son wept and said, "She left the world forgiving me, but I will never forgive myself." Ahmed placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "That's what makes her love eternal, it changes hearts even after she's gone." And truly it did. The son spent the rest of his life helping abandoned mothers and elderly people. He never forgot that one moment, when his smile disappeared after seeing who picked his mother up. Moral: never forget the hands that held you when you were helpless. Never ignore the heart that prayed for you when no one else did. A mother's love is not weak, it is sacred. And when you break it, you break your own peace.